Hello, my name is Alice Black and I'm delighted to welcome you to the business of being an artist. So this is a series of talk for Art Ultra, and this first series is about presenting yourself online. I've done a cheat sheet with a lot of information that I'm going to go through on this video, so don't forget to check the link in the description to download it. The final talk in the Presenting Yourself Online series is about nailing your artist statement. But before we start, don't forget to sign up on the Art Ultra website, where there's a lot of information for artists. We give a roundup of opportunities for grants, for commissions, for exhibitions, and this is available to you for free. In this series, I'm talking to Rioco Green, who's a PR specialist from the Design Museum. Think about it in this way. When you're writing your application, when you're making your artist statement, what you want to do is to get a corner of the most important real estate there is. That is a corner of your audience's mind. You want to stay lodged in there. So how are you going to have an impact? How will people remember you? This is all about writing and presenting your work. So Rioco, can you give us some tips, some do's and don'ts about presenting yourself, about putting together an artist statement?
Yes, I can indeed, and I loved your example there of getting some space in the real estate. I think it's a good thing, kind of lodging yourself in, but also getting yourself through the door. I think through the door can sometimes be the hardest part, but once you're in, it's how do you maintain that position and present yourself, the best way you can. And the best way to present yourself, I think for me, is a mixture of visuals, but also of the words you choose to use. So I think I'm going to start on the visual side and then kind of go into the language. I think the best way to kind of capture people's attention or to present what you're talking about is to have really strong visuals. So that's thinking about well-lit photographs, high quality, or if that's linking to a really great website or a social media platform, how can people understand you and what you're talking about in a visual format very quickly? Everyone's super busy in this kind of world that we're in, and also people are used to getting a lot of email traffic, they're used to consuming a lot of content. What makes you different and kind of what makes you stand out? So I would say having a really strong visual definitely always helps us at the Design Museum. Is that a really good portrait of yourself? Is that some really great imagery of your work? What's going to get people understanding who you are very quickly, and I would say through as least photos as possible. So think about 3 that really illustrate you and your work. So I guess the biggest thing for me is your title, your email subject, that kind of thing that you're going to apply with, that you're going to send out, is thinking about how people are going to receive you. How are people going to look at that, and can they get what you're trying to talk about in as few words as possible? So, is the headline, is the title, is your intro short and snappy? Can you reduce it to as many kind of punchy, short words as possible so that people can kind of read it very quickly and understand it? So I think that applies for the same as, an email subject, a title, a first line intro. Can they get that concept very quickly, who you are and why you're talking to them? And then think about the first paragraph. So a rule that kind of everybody has, I think, in the world of PR, but also in terms of applications and emails, is who, what, where, when, and why. So who are you? What are you talking about? Where are you presenting yourself from? Where are you looking to go? When? So when is the activity taking place? When did you start? When is what's relevant to the application or what you're doing? And why? why are you getting in touch? What are you looking to do? What are you looking to do in the future? What are you asking for? So if all those questions are kind of answered within the first paragraph, people have this great kind of, snappy intro, set the scene in that first paragraph. And I would say then people have a great understanding. They've read that, they've seen that, they've flicked their eyes down to the visual. They've already got a really great idea of who you are. So I think for me, something that we do that really kind of helps to keep things short and get the point across is to kind of have, don't shy away from bullet point descriptions. Don't shy away from using bullet points to get what you need across. So this could be, key facts, key figures, or what you want to do. I think when you're thinking about some text, a huge, massive chunk of text is quite hard to digest. If you had bullet points or shorter paragraphs or shorter sentences, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think people can get to the point very quickly. So yeah, you've got your snappy title, you've got your killer email subject, and you've got a couple of bullet points with the visuals. People are going to get what they kind of want from you very quickly. I think something that's worth considering is think about the language you're using next. So the person reading your statement or looking at your press release may not be somebody who's as involved in your subject as you are. So you might have been researching or looking into something for quite a long amount of time, but the person on the other side of the email or the other side of the application might not have been able to do this. So have a think about the language. How can you explain your project or your work in simple terms, I would say, or achievable terms? So something we tend to do at the Design Museum is often we have a target reading age of around about 12 to 15, and therefore the person on the receiving end is going to be able to understand exactly what we're talking about. And I think that's just really considering the language you're using. Obviously, if you're sending it to someone quite a specialist, you can adapt the language, but really think about the person receiving what you're kind of putting out there. And I would say always attach more information, always link to your social channels, always have the main body of what you're talking about. You have a version attached that they can read that's longer form, and you can also have those visuals. So putting those three things together, I think, help as much as possible. They would be my top tips if I had to pick a few.
I think that's super, super helpful. I would also add to that, think about, something unusual, something, that will just make you stand out. It can be a fact, it can be something in your practice that really marks you out. And push that, make the most of that, because very often people will remember that sort of odd element in a profile. It helps just lodge that person into your mind. And as an artist, you're creating visual. Your work is about making paintings, artworks. And so this is, worth 1,000 words. But make sure when you select your portfolio, you give an idea of your range, you give an idea of the topics that interest you, how that relates to the words that you have put in the application, so that it gives the whole package, the word plus the artwork that you're going to be submitting. So thank you very much, Rioco. I think this gives us amazing tips to help artists present themselves on all media, from the website to the social to an application. And don't forget to download the cheat sheet, because we have a recap of all this information. And also don't forget to sign up to Art Ultra and keep in touch. Thank you very much, Rioco.
Thank you for having me.